When growth stalls, most leaders reach for surface fixes like new campaigns, a sharper sales deck, even new hires. But the real issues are often deeper, such as misaligned systems, broken handoffs, or unreliable data. That's why we built the Growth Readiness Score. In just 5 minutes, you'll get a clear score across 4 critical areas of your revenue operations and see how you stack up against your peers with benchmark data. Tap the link in the show notes to get started. It's quick, insightful, and often reveals issues leaders don't expect.
When it comes to AI, we had 3 lines on AI on our vision document from last year. And our culture document says we're going to have fun at work and be accountable to a few things: your position agreement, the vision, and the policy and procedure. So the AI piece goes along with all the vision. So every time we're looking at something new in AI, and we all know there's been a ton from AI that's been new this year, we're looking at it through the lens of our vision and our company. So you don't get pulled away by every shiny new coin. In AI, you have to jump in and see tons of shiny ways you could use it. But we look at it, how are we going to use this shiny new tool in AI for our company to fulfill our vision? And I say this in my book, and my business coach taught me this year after year after year. He would always ask me the same question: is this on vision or is this off vision? So everything we do in AI, and we're doing a lot with AI, as I'm sure all your other callers are as well, that's how we stay focused. That's how we don't just dive into every ad. That's how we choose which softwares are right for us, which networks are right for us, which things we want to do with it, because we know the value we want to add to our customer. We know we want to raise our standards. That was our message, our theme. So every chance we had for AI to make us faster, better, communicate with our ideal hero client better, we knew that was for us.
You're listening to RevOps Champions, a podcast created for B2B leaders to help you align your people, streamline your processes, trust your data, and leverage technology in order to grow your business. Today's guest is Chris Cornelison, a best-selling author, leadership expert, and keynote speaker who has built multiple successful companies, including SolutionsRx, a multi-million-dollar supplement business. Chris is also the creator of the Superculture framework, a model designed to transform workplaces into environments where employees feel energized, valued, and motivated. As a pharmacist, entrepreneur, and growth strategist, Chris has taught organizations across all kinds of industries how to combine strategy, leadership, and compassion to achieve sustainable results. From leading independent pharmacies to speaking on stages nationwide, his work empowers teams to thrive and leaders to elevate their impact. Chris, welcome to the RevOps Champions podcast.
Brendon, thank you very much. Super kind introduction. And dude, I'm ready to go. This is going to be a really fun podcast.
I know it is. You and I had the opportunity to meet in person just over a month ago now.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to sort of dig in and learn more from you here. And I'm sure a lot of our audience are going to learn from you too.
Awesome.
So Chris, let's go back into, can you share how you first got started in business and what led you to take over your first pharmacy at the age of 24?
Yes. So my grandfather owned a family business. It was a pharmacy. And at 27 years old, I graduated pharmacy school. I graduated pharmacy school at 24 years old. And 27, I bought my grandfather's family business. My grandfather was a great guy, and he had built a good small business. But like a lot of small business owners or one location entrepreneurs, he had no structure, nothing written down. And I came in with poor leadership. Not knowing I had poor leadership, I was 27. I didn't know a lot in the world at that time. And I almost destroyed it. In my book, I've got what everybody calls the garbage can moment. And I actually literally take the same garbage can I kicked in all those years around. I still have it in my company as a reminder. And I take that garbage can around a lot of times when I keynote on culture, and I sit it on stage and kind of relive that moment. But the way I got in my first business was I bought the family business and just an inch away from driving that thing into bankruptcy.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure. So I'm sure you have more to talk about there. So let's maybe go there with, so what were some of the biggest challenges you faced early on, and how did you work through them?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge I faced was I didn't know how to lead a team. I had no emotional intelligence and I didn't know it existed. I mean, it's not like I went in and said, oh, my emotional intelligence is off. I was leading from a standpoint of all I'd seen in athletics. So I was trying to be the fiery coach, slamming my hand down, yelling at people, and then not realizing that that would shut them down with no written down structure, nothing to lead by, no job descriptions. There was a lot of chaos in this small business that I didn't even realize existed when I came on. I'd worked in this business for 3 years when I bought it.
Mhm.
And so, the first challenge was actually getting some awareness that there wasn't any written structure and that my leadership needed to improve. And when I finally had that awareness moment after kicking a garbage can in and making an immature mess across the store, slamming and slinging things all over the place at night by myself. I didn't do this in front of customers, just that night by myself. I came to the awareness that I did not have it all figured out. And the next step I went through was I hired a business coach and I kept that business coach. His name was Paul Simpson. He's still a dear, dear friend of mine. But we worked together for 16 years and he reinvented me step by step for everything from how to write a vision to how to write things down. I'm a big process guy. I want everything to be repeated. So it was really easy. Well, it was really easy after Paul kicked my butt over and over
Yes.
after a year
Yeah.
to process everything. And once it turned direction, that's when I realized how important culture was. And then it was second nature to me to process culture and what I thought it took to get on point. And I didn't even realize I was doing anything quote unquote special there. And the next thing I knew, I was keynote speaking all over the country about how to flip your culture around.
Mm.
So that's kind of a foot up view of how it started and where it went to.
Yeah. So Chris, was there a specific turning point that helped you then develop your superculture framework?
Yeah, it all starts with rule number one. It all starts with you, and that's leadership. The first step for me was I was taking classes to better myself, and I stumbled onto emotional intelligence, and I got really deep into neuroscience of that. I mean, I'm a pharmacist. I've got a pharmacy degree, so the sciencey side turned me on. And
Hmm.
when I got into it, and I realized how low my emotional intelligence was, it was just lightning fast steps of how much I progressed. When your eyes are open to, "Hey, I'm screwing this up and I'm screwing this up. And oh, it may be my fault that nothing's written down in this company that I've owned for the last year and I haven't made any steps forward. And maybe it's me who's slamming my hand down. Maybe it's me who's yelling at everybody. Maybe it's me who is causing the problems because, Brendan, it was me." And
Yes.
that was a hard reality, but
Hmm.
in business, we want things to go out like a hockey stick. The minute I realized it was me and I had the ability and power to fix it, and I kept improving my tools and skill sets over the years, we
Mm.
were like a hockey stick. We turned that one store into three. We won national awards. My team was so on point, so good. We were
Wow.
able to manipulate a lot of markets and turn into a company that was known for a great working.
Yeah, that is awesome. So how do you approach building a culture that balances, so we and a lot of uh, our clients and a lot of people listening are familiar with EOS and run on EOS,
Yes.
and I knew, for me, like one of the biggest struggles, I can really be good at the fun and the compassion piece, but where I really struggle is the accountability piece. So how do you build a culture that balances accountability, fun, and compassion in your companies?
Yes, great question. And I'm excited about this question. I've got tons of friends in EOS. I've actually never been a member of EOS, but I really respect their structure and have talked to a lot of the implementers over the years. I really believe the key is clarity. I think
Hmm.
Brene Brown, I quote Terry Norville, my book is saying clear is kind. And,
Hmm.
and, and it, you have to have a structure for clarity. And I have a 5-step process in my book. Rule number 2 is write it down or it doesn't exist. And I believe there are 5 short documents, key being short, that you need. And the main one is the 1-year vision. And
Hmm.
and I've actually got my 1-year vision here from last year. I thought it'd be fun. I titled it every year, and I give a free template on my website through my book to walk you through this. And I teach people how to write these if they want to work with me. But last year, our
Hmm.
1-year vision was raise our standard. Now, our standard was already really high, but that was the theme. Every year I give it a theme. And then I take the departments inside our company. I always have a bit on culture. Last year, we had some new people in key roles. So I
Hmm.
added the ideal customer to make sure the team was still on board who that was. And it's in other places. I usually don't add it to the vision, but our company needed it. We were raising our standards. We had to be clear in who our ideal customer was. Then we do wholesale sales, business to business, and we actually do some direct to consumer sales on the website. So we had both those departments,
Hmm.
marketing, sales, research and development, and we added AI last year.
Mm.
So a 1-year vision document with all those headings with some bullet points to what we wanted to accomplish for 2025. And
Mm.
then everybody in those departments, whoever the head of that department is, can go to that small section and say, what's my department trying to accomplish this year? Now,
Yeah.
obviously, if it's only one page, it's fairly vague, but it's also pointing you in the right direction. And so every quarter when we set goals, what's the 1-year vision say? Where are we at? If we're in quarter two, how did we do in quarter one? What were we trying to accomplish? How are we trying to get there? And so the 1-year vision is one of the 5 documents I think you have to write. But I think that 1-year vision keeps the whole team on track. My
Mm.
team is literally fixing to read this year's vision. We're doing this podcast on December. I think today's December the 1st. I'm not even sure. Maybe December the
Second.
It's the second.
Yeah.
Okay, I lost the day. So we're fixing to read it for 2 reasons. We want to look at all the things we've accomplished. We're obviously going to see a few things we missed, but what we're going to see is that our standard has raised this year. We wanted to raise our standard in AI through the roof right now. We wanted
That's
to raise
awesome.
our standard in our the way we marketed our consumer and the value we added, and we've done several things. So it helps us celebrate our victories. It helps us stay on course, and I think that document and then the culture document is the other thing I write. Now, in my book, I'll tell you, my first culture document had 4 lines, literally 4 lines. But those
Hmm.
4 lines kept us on target. I'm also a big fan of all these documents being very, very short, very, very
Mm.
short, because I want them to be used. I want them to empower people. I don't need to have in my documentation, turn the computer on, hit this
No.
button. I need them to know we want this to grow. Your job's to coach this group of people. Your job's to make this happen. And that's what I want these documents to do, is lead the team in the right direction. I think the 1-year vision is the most important one.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your book, your superculture, which I know you suggested that you would, I think this is a really good read for any business owner or business leader, whether you run on EOS or scaling up, or you name the program, or even there might be people who are like, well, maybe EOS or one of those other things is not for us. Maybe let's just start with culture, because one of the sort of repeating trends that happened over the last 4 years of doing this podcast, that we've had really, a lot of very successful leaders on the podcast. And if I sum it all up, okay, this year it was a little skewed by all the AI conversations,
Mm-hmm.
but other than AI this year, everything came down to people and culture, right? So, and in fact, when I had Mike Payton on recently, who is the previous CEO of EOS, he shared with me an interesting comment from Gina Wickman, which was, if AI starts running businesses, then we're out of business, because we're all in the business of figuring out how to make people be more happy, progressing,
Yeah.
achieving, etc. It's all about people, which means that culture. I'm saying that I'm thinking like this. There's this incredible conversation that I'm sure that you and I are going to have, if not today, another time, around how culture and AI are going to connect. Because ultimately everything we're talking about is, it's how do we improve as humans,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. And so I know you've had a lot of AI stuff, so we'll go as far as you do or don't want to go, because I'm big in AI too. I love it. I would just like to tie it into the culture piece though, because I've worked with a ton of EOS people, Red Traction and Rocket Fuel, love the integrator, innovator mentality, and I operate off of it. I
Hmm.
love all that. But when it comes to AI, we had 3 lines on AI on our vision document from last year. And our
Hmm.
culture document says we're going to have fun at work and be accountable to a few things: your position agreement, the vision, and the policy and procedure. So the AI piece goes along with all the vision. So every time we're looking at something new in AI, and we all know there's been a ton from AI that's been new this year, we're looking at it through through the lens of our vision and our company. So you don't get pulled away by every shiny new coin. In AI, you have to jump in and see tons of shiny ways you could use it. But we look at it, how are we going to use this shiny new tool in AI for our company to fulfill our vision? And I say this in my book, and my business coach taught me this year after year after year. He would always ask me the same question: is this on vision or is this off vision? So everything we do in AI, and we're doing a lot with AI, as I'm sure all your other callers are as well,
Yeah.
that's how we stay focused. That's how we don't just dive into every ad. That's how we choose which softwares are right for us, which networks are right for us, which things we want to do with it, because we know the value we want to add to our customer. We know we want to raise our standards. That was our message, our theme. So every chance we had for AI to make us faster, better, communicate with our ideal hero client better, we knew that
Hmm.
was for us. If it was doing some other things that we needed to know about, we put those on the back burner. Doesn't mean we're not going to use them in the future. It means it was off vision for us right now. And
Right.
and so it's allowed us to navigate AI through our vision, and our vision also has a culture piece every year. Rule number one on our culture, everyone in every company I have, is have fun and be happy at work. Because when I
Mm.
was kicking that trash can, Brendan, I was not happy at work. And
Hmm.
not only that, I was making everybody else miserable. So that's number one. Number two, you have to choose your attitude. And that's kind of the
Hmm.
fish philosophy. You choose your attitude. I can't make somebody come in and be happy at work, but I
Hmm.
can hold them accountable to it. And rule
Yeah.
three is be accountable to. And I think all
Yeah.
great cultures have to be accountable to. I think when you have that written down, and that's the environment you're protecting, and you have the vision, and that's the direction we're trying to go, you have
Hmm.
clarity in the company. And I challenge all my managers to use the verbiage from the vision and the verbiage from our culture document when they're giving the whys. So you don't want to tell them a why on AI that's off in left field. Why can we not buy this AI program? Because right
Mm.
now our vision is this, and we're trying to grow sales, and this AI does it. We're working with Andrew. I know you and I both know Andrew, and he's got a closed AI that we're very interested
Mm.
in called Cerebro.
Yep.
I know you and I are both playing with that. Well, it's very on target. It's very on mission for us. So
Hmm.
even though we were beta site with it, and we're just now getting as far as you are with it, Brendan. I know you and I have talked about some things you're doing with AI. We've closed that gap in the last month while I've been sick. Okay, I had a little eye thing. I don't want to get into that, but I had a detached retina that knocked me down. Yet my team stayed on course. My team stayed on track. My team kept having the conversations because it was on vision.
Yeah. So because you'd provided the vision and the clarity that then created your quarterly goals. Yeah, that's really cool. Very, very powerful. Yeah. So really the word clarity just keeps coming up. And I know you mentioned Brene Brown. Is she the one who's credited for saying
Yeah,
clear is kind?
yes, and
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't know it. I have a friend and mentor. She actually wrote the foreword to my book, and I quoted her. Her name's Terry Norvell. I quoted her in
Hmm.
my book, and my book was already gone to publish, and she said, "Chris, I was actually quoting Brene Brown. Now I like Brene Brown, but I don't follow her as much as Terry did." And
Yeah.
I
I
said,
love Brene Brown.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too. She's phenomenal." I was like, "But Terry, I heard you say it first." So no disrespect to Brene, but I heard Terry say it first, so I gave Terry credit for the quote. But it's such a powerful quote, whether it's Terry or Brene or both, which is probably was both. Just the power of clear is kind.
Yeah.
As leaders, if we're clear to our managers, and if our managers and integrators are clear to the team, I firmly believe everybody shows up at work and wants to win. I don't believe people walk in the front door and say, "Hey, today's the day I really want to screw up the team and screw up the company." I believe they don't get clarity. And I
Mm.
believe when you provide clarity and you provide an environment, and then rule five is protect and thrive. Once you get it established, man, you don't want anybody poking holes in that environment.
Mm.
It's a lot easier to fire a bad apple in that environment. Doesn't make them a bad person, makes them a
Yeah.
bad fit for your environment, but it's much easier to get them off the team when you go, "Hey, I've got this built and I don't want anybody to tear this down."
Mm.
Totally
Yeah.
opposite of what I had when I was 27.
Yes. Yeah, but again, no matter who the teacher or the mentor or the coach was that we learned that from is, you learn from all those lows in your life, right?
Yes.
That's what leads you to find a better way of doing things. And to your earlier point, it's a way to feel happier when
Yeah.
you're at work.
Yeah.
So, Chris, have you seen your strategies for culture and leadership impact teams and business outcomes in like real world settings? Like, in other words, can you give us a couple of examples of how you see these strategies for culture and leadership impact teams?
Yeah, I'll give you a few examples that have been really fun. My background was in pharmacies, so I used to lead mastermind groups, board of directors type settings for these entrepreneurs. I saw
Yeah.
tons of them grow financially, make massive improvements. It always starts with improving your culture.
Mm,
Everybody that comes to me and they're struggling, and I ask them, I've got the DOS question where I'm trying to say, hey, where do you want to be? What's going on? There's always something going on with some person or some area of the company, and it traces down to no clear culture environment that they're trying to create. Sometimes it gets to a bad apple or two, but then they've got some goal that they're just not able to reach. So in the
mm,
pharmacy industry, I got known for somebody that could make that happen really fast and did it over and over. But now recently, I've been working with Ken Williams and a Coca-Cola franchise out of Corinth, Mississippi, and they're in
mm,
4 states. And it's been fun to watch this massive Coca-Cola company implement the culture, get some more energy in their team. The Coke's obviously a great company. They don't need Chris Cornelison to help be a great company, but they've invited me back 4 times to keep leading their team and helping
mhm,
them get a mindset of having a great culture, improving leadership, improving focus. And that's been fun. I even worked with their leadership council. They had their own internal leadership programs, and I got to
mhm,
hear that and help build off of that. And when you get to work with a company like that 4 times in 2 years, and they keep bringing you back, man, it just starts to get really, really fun. Because my
mhm,
background was working with more 20 to 30 location entrepreneurs and things like that.
mhm,
And then since my books come out, I've had all these people call and say, hey, I use your book for this. I use the book for that. A political campaign out of Texas. And I didn't even know this gentleman. He was just kind enough to share with me in an event and how much he liked my book. And he'd been using it in their political campaign. And I didn't get to see the details down enough to understand really how he used it, but that it was really cool just to hear it. And then the last thing that's been the most rewarding is I've worked with a ton of companies over the last 10 years. And I've had so many leaders call, and in the conversation where they're bragging on their sales numbers or how much better their environment is or whatever they wanted to grow,
mhm,
they've mentioned to me, I shared this with my kids. I was
mm,
having a tough relationship with my son or daughter or spouse. And when they shared that with me, Brendon, that they used the emotional intelligence and kind of the culture rules in their home life
mm,
and it
mm.
had impact with their children, oh man, it pumps me up. I've
Yeah,
had people call and tell me they made millions of dollars, and that's great. That's fun. It's good to hear. But
yeah,
when they turn around and say, but the most impactful thing was I was able to talk to my son. I was able to talk to my daughter. Oh man, it takes it to a whole new level.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, again, impacting your most important relationships. I mean, there is nothing more important than that, right? Ultimately,
Right, right.
but of course, it doesn't hurt to, um, have a more valuable business at the same time.
Makes it a lot easier.
Sure sounds very very attractive.
Yes, yes,
Chris, so as you know, you mentioned we're here at the end of 2025, and I think a lot of positive folks like you and I are very very excited about 2026.
yes.
What trends or changes do you see shaping the future of leadership and team development in any industry?
Yeah, I think every industry's kind of the same with what I'm fixing to say.
Yeah.
And I hate to hit right back on AI, but I'm a big process guy. One of my favorite books, foundation wise, was The E Myth. I joined a company called Pharmacy Development Services. Dan Benamos used to own it, and it was about improving your ability to run your company. And that's where I
Hmm.
got involved with business coaching and all that. But the E Myth was open my eyes that processes are very, very important in a company. And
Hmm.
AI is fixing to take processes into prompts. And for example, our salespeople, we realized that we weren't setting them up for success 2 or 3 years ago. And so we went on this journey over the last few years to improve those processes, and we have, but now we're able to turn those processes into prompts. And a new salesperson on day one can have the same position agreement, but now the prompt leads them into amazingly quick success. The vision, their
Hmm.
position agreement, and our goals make it very clear what they're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. And
Hmm.
AI makes it better because we've learned to use AI to take those documents actually and create them into prompts, we're turning our company sales into a hockey stick because of this. The AI conversation gets so negative sometimes, and people will say, oh, you're going to replace everybody. We're not necessarily replacing anybody. We haven't replaced a person, but we've been able to be a small, powerful group of people who
Mm.
bring on strategic people. We don't just bring on people to plug in holes. We strategically bring on the right person and we
Yeah.
train them in the right way to go forward. When you just hire people with no process, that destroys your culture. It's
Yeah.
really, really hard to bring on a bunch of people at once and keep your
Hmm.
culture consistent.
Yeah. In fact, I was just reading a thread on LinkedIn this morning on that very topic, talking about how every leadership team that has gone through like high growth phases gets to a point where like how do we handle all these leads that we're getting?
Yes.
And the again the whole story was about how most sales leaders in that situation, they were like, oh well, let's just hire more reps, and almost every time it fails
Yeah.
because it's what do you again because again there wasn't enough clarity, there wasn't enough structure, and I think to your point is like you haven't had to replace any people, but maybe as you've well, and you continue to incorporate AI into your business, it just means that you won't have to hire any more people because your productivity of the people that you do have, not to mention the fun that they're having and how they're growing personally and professionally, they can do so much more for themselves and for the business. So you don't need to hire any more sales reps or whatever the position is.
Yes. And when you do hire, when there is need to bring more people on, they come in and they start off at an incredibly high level right out of the gate because
Mm-hmm.
AI has taken all the processes and all the clarity and made it super simple, super quick, and at their fingertips. So
Mm-hmm.
new hires are actually more productive than ever
Right.
if you
So
use
I
AI.
Yeah. So I was trying to avoid going here, but because you've now talked about salespeople and process, and we're let's talk about sales process specifically, right? So sales reps in any organization, including yours, they get up every morning and they have tasks that they need to do to complete the activities that they need to get done on a daily and weekly basis. And what you're saying that what I'm hearing is you're saying, well, we're using AI to make it simpler and easier for them to know what to do next, and to the time that it takes them to do each activity is so much quicker. And in fact, in some cases, the activity is being done by AI.
Yes.
How do you see that impacting the CRM that you're using, or are you building this AI outside of the CRM?
So I think both is going to happen in
Yeah.
this new economy. Right now, we're building most of that outside of our CRM.
Mm-hmm.
We're really getting deep now with Cerebro. But to me, most people want to use some form of a closed AI and then plug that into the right places inside their CRM is the way I see it. And that's
Yeah.
so we had to learn what we wanted to do, learn how to use
Mm-hmm.
it. And now it's really what we're using it for is to scrape our CRM. We've got our CRM plugged into our closed AI. I don't want open AI for I use open AI a lot, but I want it to be closed in an environment that does what I want. I want it to go through SolutionsRx's policy and procedure. I want it to treat the customer the way our policy and procedure says, the way our culture document says, the way we value our customer. And
Mm-hmm.
then I do want to scrape the data quicker, faster, and easier. And I want to shoot that back out to my personal sales rep. And yes, I know some people will be using AI for this too. But right
Mm-hmm.
now, the way we use it, we want to set that salesperson up for success. So, for example, we had two things happen yesterday. Number one, we scraped our own data in a totally new way with people who had contacted our customer that we had not acted on because we didn't even know the ways they had reached out to us. That I was literally able to scrape it so much faster than we ever could. And we were able to find people who had put things in a cart that we hadn't reached back out to and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I was able to scrape phone numbers, emails, and things like that. So we could have a very personable conversation. And those are much higher leads than just picking up the phone and cold calling somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
all that was in our system. It'd been there the whole time, and we did not realize it. So I think most people are going to use some type of closed AI to get to do what they want. And then I think they should stick that into their CRM in a multitude of places.
Yeah.
And that's just my
No,
opinion. I mean,
no,
there's a lot
I
of
think you're
on that.
I think you're spot on, and obviously In 3 months from now, we might both have a different opinion. But I
Yes.
think I think for right now, you're right. I think what we're seeing is that there isn't really one technology. It's no longer going to be a technology solution. It's how you combine different tools and technologies, including AI, again, to complete the process that you see being improved continuously in your business.
And Brendan, at first, we were overwhelmed with the whole process. And the way we got it honed back in is simply asking the question, what are we trying to accomplish this year? We went right back to our 1 year vision. We went to our quarterly goal. And after we learned how to use the closed AI network, we started asking it the relative questions to what we were trying to accomplish that quarter.
Mhm.
And then it became very clear. And then the managers could take the vision, the goal, properly use AI and give that to a sales rep who now is equipped to make many more quality calls and add value to the customer. At the end of the day, if AI and our processes don't add value to the customer, it's all worthless. But
Mm.
when you have that clarity, clear is kind. I quote Brene and Terry the whole day today. Then, and my mantra is praise what you won't repeat. So AI is just allowing us to praise what we won't repeat quicker.
Mhm. Yeah. So okay, so that's one of the trends you're seeing,
Mhm.
as we sort of wrap up 25 going into 2026. What else are you seeing?
So right now, what I do at the end of the year is I write my 2026 vision. And it's almost finished. It's usually finished by now, but I'm a little slower this year.
Well, that was actually going to be my next question is like at what point do you complete your vision for the next year? Because we've got to be pretty close to that point right now. Yeah.
Yes. I usually start it in October. I look at what we accomplished the year before. I look at what the new trends are, what I'm excited about. I keep a 3 year and a 5 year vision for myself, but I only share the
Mhm.
1 year vision with my company. I share it
Mhm.
company wide. And so it's usually finished for me around November. It will for sure be finished in December this year. And then I share it with the team the first week of January every year. We
Yeah.
close out the year strong. We look at the vision for the next year. We get really clear on how we're going to attack it. We set the quarterly goals and we start over doing the exact same thing in the exact same environment. And to me, golly, Brendan, trends are so hard to predict right now because they're such a moving target. But I think quality is going to go up. I think you'll have some people using AI in some low integrity ways. And I think that'll open up opportunity for people who use AI in high integrity ways.
Mhm.
I think you'll see companies without structure and without vision not get behind because of AI. They're going to get behind because they're not clear in their culture. They're not clear what their environment should be. And if you don't know how to write those things and you don't have a clear vision and some tools in your belt, some leadership tools to lead
Mhm.
your team, I don't think AI will help you. If you do have those things, I think AI will speed them all up.
Yeah. I think that's what technology, every big leap in technology in the past has essentially done the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So companies who are doing things the right way accelerate, and people who do things the wrong way typically get, they decelerate or accelerate downwards.
One thing that you'd asked before we got on the podcast and things, I think data is where it's really going to change because AI can scrape data so fast and
Yeah.
let there's a lot of times I know in my career, I was like, man, if I just had time to look at my own data that I knew existed and for whatever reason, we don't take the time or we don't want to put the person over it or they don't have the time. And AI can scrape that data so fast. It gives you
Mm.
so much better a scoreboard on how your company's doing, how a new project's going. I mean, like in the old days, I would have probably waited to the end of the month or end of the quarter to see how a marketing campaign lined up to our budget. Can I get that on a day-to-day basis, an hour-to-hour basis now? So being able to know your data exponentially better, I think is going to be a game changer.
Yeah, which I mean, I really love that coming from you because I mean, your what I think what's changed your life and your career from a business perspective has been all around emotional intelligence and leadership and culture.
Yes.
So to hear you talk about the importance of AI and now data in your business is very refreshing. But I think to me, it's we live in a bit of a binary society, right? Where it's like where even the questions that we ask are binary. Like what was your what was your favorite thing, or what was your highlight, or what is the thing that you think when people are asking for advice, like what is the one thing I should do? There is no one thing. It's you have to be able to combine. So every framework, whether it's your superculture framework or the EOS framework, or you name the framework, it has to incorporate all these things, right? It
Yeah.
has to incorporate the vision, the culture, and ultimately it has to contain the data and the systems and the processes that you use to run your business. And
Absolutely.
I think you're right. I mean, I think data is really going to be what levels the playing field in the AI opportunity.
Hmm. For sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
right. So, Chris, as we sort of start to wrap up here, if our listeners want to start building a superculture in their organizations, what is the first practical step you would recommend they take?
So I would recommend grabbing my book, Superculture. It
Yep.
really is a playbook. It's got 5 very simple rules. After reading the book or listening to it on Audible, whichever you choose, we have free templates on my website. So you got some do-it-yourselfers who will fill that documentation out themselves. You'll have some people that already have that documentation and they might tweak their own. They might get some ideas to tweak their existing. And then it works through the process of get a business coach. If you're interested in working with me, go to www.chriscornelison.com and reach out. But if you want to work with your own coach, that's fine too. We've talked a lot about EOS because they're a great company. To me, my book fits hand in hand. I know a ton of EOS integrators who
Implementers. Yeah, yeah,
implementers, I'm sorry,
yeah.
that have read my book and love it and use it inside of EOS. I think my book's a great place to start. Define what your culture is. I mean, what do you want? And I've got some processes when people work with me, when I do keynotes or have workshops. I have some leadership workshops throughout the year. I don't have one scheduled right now, but the next one's probably going to be around next June, where
Okay.
people can come on site. So I'd love to work one-on-one with people or in group settings with people. But grab a book, whether it's mine or somebody else, figure out, do I have structure that's clear to my team? And if
Mm,
that answer is not a definitive yes, then where am I lacking most? And start there.
mm.
Be kind to yourself, clear to yourselves kind. What am I looking for? Ask yourself that question. What's the biggest thing keeping me from getting there? And how do I overcome that obstacle?
Yeah, yeah. So that is awesome. So we'll put a link to the book and to your website in the show notes on this episode page once it's published.
And we're going to give you a code, RevOps, REVOPS, and we're going to give 25% off to any of your listeners who choose to buy our book, just to say thank
Awesome,
you to you and your listeners for having us on today.
awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Chris. We'll definitely stick that in there too. So that'll just be a specific link that people can use.
Yes, yes. Now, you can buy my book other places, Amazon, wherever you prefer. But if you want to, the only place I can put the percent off is on our website. And if you request, we'll send it autographed and all that mumbo. So
Awesome.
wherever you get it, great. Or if you go to a different leader or a different culture guru, or that's fun too.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Chris, from something that you shared with me before with your keynote speaking, this seems like a really, I mean, your message and your content would be really really appropriate for companies of any size
Mhm,
who are looking for a speaker at their, whether it's an annual event or however often they do these events,
mhm,
whether they have 100 or 500 or 5,000 people
mhm.
getting together for a big company get together. It sounds like you'd be a really good person for them to have speak at an event like that.
Yeah, I like to think so. Like, I know some places I'm going back to next year are the Coca-Cola franchise I mentioned, the Mississippi High School Athletic Association. They have their event, and they've been kind enough to invite me back 2 or 3 years in a row because it fits really well into the teaching coaching society,
Yeah.
obviously. But yeah, I like to work with corporate. I like to work with the CEO level down to the management level and how to coach people. My message is a lot about the leadership skills it takes to be a good coach. It's about the leadership skills it takes to recognize pace setting leadership. It talks about the leadership skills to not use command and control at the wrong time. A lot of emotional intelligence, a lot of culture, obviously, and a lot of my mantra, which is praise what you want repeated. And I don't just use it as a feel good fun thing. I talk about it on a neurological level and what happens
Hmm.
in the brain when you praise and how that drives your goals forward too.
Really, really interesting. On your sort of emotional intelligence journey, were there one or two people or books that really stood out that you would recommend to folks who love reading?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw one out there that I'm gonna be honest, it's a tough read, but it's a deep read, but I really enjoyed it. It's called The Leading Brain,
The
okay?
Leading Brain.
It really gets into the neuroscience and the neuroplasticity. There's another book I haven't read. I hardly ever recommend a book I haven't read, but it's new and it's on my to-do list called Positive Intelligence. The
Oh,
reason I
yes.
recommend it is because I think so much about the praise side of the brain. I think people talk all the time about the amygdala and fight or flight and what happens when you shut people down. I think a lot of people get that. If you don't get
Mm,
that, grab my book. I talk about that. I call it the simplest version you can get, and then you can
mm,
skip down into other books. But I think most people miss what I call the praise side of the brain, which is where not only dopamine, but dopamine and noradrenaline and acetylcholine pop your team into what I call maximum focus. And the real sweet sauce is getting acetylcholine to stay in your brain where you can learn and be in a relaxed state and actually soak in all the knowledge that your company wants you to soak in, as opposed to always being in a fight or flight mode. And so
mm.
that's some of the things I talk about in my book. I think The Leading Brain is a great book for that. So many leadership gurus will touch on it. I know John Maxwell, Steve Gilliland, a lot of them will touch on it, but I think The Leading Brain is my favorite neuroscience book personally.
Interesting. Wow. I'll definitely give that one a read. It sounds like a really good one.
Yeah,
Chris, thanks again so much for joining me on the show today. It was so good to catch up. And I
absolutely.
and I know you and I have a lot more to talk about as we both sort of lean into, adding AI into the future of our businesses and our clients' businesses. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been really fun and just a good time.
Yeah, and obviously all the best wrapping up the year, and I wish you a really really strong start of 2026. I know you're going to make it happen whether you have those good wishes from me or not.
Thank you, and you too, my friend. I know you are as well, and who knows, you and I may work together, in 2026, maybe do it together.
That would be awesome. I look forward to that. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Brenda.